Hi everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the functions practice exercise. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think this is a really good exercise for you to try to do as much of as you can by yourself or working with the people around you. We're going to have an assessment coming up in a couple of weeks. These are the types of skills you're going to need to demonstrate. And a lot of this is really similar to our last exercise, which I have a video up of as well, called function and form. So, I know I shouldn't be saying this, but if you want to stop the video, talk with the people around you, try to get through as much of this as you can. You want to spend a whole class period on this? I think that would be an excellent use of your time and a great test of your skills. You can come back tomorrow, watch the rest of the video, and listen to me go over all of these checkpoints all the way through the final task. Okay? Now, if this is your second day, or third day, or fourth day working on functions practice, right? Welcome. Let's take a look. Okay? So, checkpoint 1, create a form, name a form info, and inside that form, create the following elements. Now, here's the thing. I'm not giving you any files for this one, right? We are starting completely from scratch, right? There is no code on this at all. It is just do this, do this, do this, and then do that. Okay, so let's start a new file completely from scratch and let's see how it goes. Okay, so what's the first tag we always start with? HTML. Good. Inside of that we have a head. Inside of that we have a title. Let's call this functions practice. Okay, and then after the title I'll put a script tag. Okay, and I'm not going to do any styling today. You should feel free to do any styling you would like. I'm just going to focus on the key stuff that the exercise requires us to. After the head tag I put a body tag. Okay, and this is where we can go ahead and do number 1, which is create a form with a name of FRM info, form info. Okay, and inside of that form, we'll put these elements. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So in the body, I'm going to make a form. Before I close this form tag, I'm going to go name equals quote FRM capital I NFO close quote, and then I will close the form. And inside of this, right, let's go back and take a look at what it says. So it says a text box with an ID of text favorite number. Okay, now I'm going to do that real quick, and I'm going to show you why it's not a great idea. Okay, input type equals text. Okay, that's all fine. ID equals quote ID text fav number. All of that's okay. All right. But if I save this and I go back, and I already have this file open, I'm going to refresh it. Here's my web page so far. Okay, it is just a text box. All right, is there anything here that indicates what should go in this text box? No, right? So let's go ahead and put a little bit of text before this so that the user knows what to do. So before this input, I'm going to type in, let's just say favorite number colon, and then I'm going to hit enter just to put this on another line. But remember, if you want to actually put these on separate lines, I'd have to put a BR tag before this input. Okay, so let's go ahead and save and then come back and refresh, and now at least the user knows what they're doing. Okay, all right, good. Let's keep going. So after the input, right, what else do we have to do? Actually, let's go back to the handout. A select box with options of cat, dog, rabbit, ID of select fav animal. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so after the input, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of BR tags here. Okay, and now I'm going to make a, a select box. I was going to write option, but that's wrong. ID equals quote ID SLCT FAV animal. Select fav animal, hit enter. Okay, inside of this select box, let's put some options. So my first option, I'm going to give it a value. It doesn't hurt to have cat, and inside I'll go capital C cat and make it nice and formal. Now something we did in function and form was we made a select box for our favorite snacks, right? And we did something very similar to this where the inner HTML was Doritos and the value was Doritos. But you're a programmer, right? You are a little bit lazy. Let's make our lives easier. Let's write less, okay? Let's just make the value quote C, right? And now the reason I can do this is because I know the options I'm going to put in here are all going to start with different letters, so there won't be any issues, right? We're not doing cats, chameleons, and cheetahs, right? We're doing cat, we're doing dog, I'll go quote D, okay? And then we're doing rabbit. Okay, those are my three options, and my three values are just going to be C, D, R. Okay. Okay, so that is what is inside of my select box. Let's go ahead and save it for now. Okay, and again, all of this is in the form tag. This is in the body. This is a good place to pause if you want to get some of this basic stuff down. Okay, let's go back and take a look. All right. So here we have this, and again, no description here, right? What am I doing? Let's go back and let's tell the user what they're doing, which is they're selecting their favorite pet. Okay. All right. And so they're going to type in their favorite number. They're going to tell us their favorite pet. Of course, these are the only three realistic options, right? Okay. Oh, let's go back to the handout. All right. All right, and then one button that says done with an on-click event handler of show summary, and then we're going to pass in form info. Okay. All right, so after the select, I'm going to put a couple of BRs. Okay. And I'm going to go input type equals button, and I'm going to give it a value of or just done, right? Was it just done or I'm done? It was just done. Okay, and an on-click event handler that's going to run a function called show summary, which we will make eventually, and we're going to pass through our form into that. Okay, so there's done, and then on-click show summary is a function we will make later on. Okay, inside of this, we're going to pass through form info and put a greater than after the quotes for that button. Okay, so if you got through all of this on your own, that's checkpoint 1. That's an excellent start. That's a good place to be at. Okay, so let's keep going. Well, let's just go ahead and go back here and refresh. Yep, this looks good. Okay, all right, checkpoint 1, good. Okay, checkpoint 2, in the head section of your document, you should have a script section where JavaScript code goes. Write the function declaration for the show summary function. So when we were doing function and form, we talked about calling a function versus declaring a function. In the script tag is where we declare all of the functions in this document, right? So one of them is going to be show summary, okay? And let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so in the script tag, all right, let's go ahead and make the show summary function, okay? And let's start with the comments, okay? So double slashes, right? And let's say this function will alert the user to their, and now when your comment is going too far to the right, I don't really like scrolling like this because it takes my hand off the keyboard, right? So you can hit enter and just make a new line, and let's keep going. To their, we'll say choices, or shall we just say to their selections of their favorite pet and number. Okay, now we're actually going to make a little comment based on their number. Okay, so yeah, I think that's good, right? That's the purpose. So we're going to start off with just, hey, what's the purpose of this function, right? That's where our little comment is going to be for. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and make that function. It is called show summary, and you know what, let me do that again real quick because God, I love VS Code, right? Because I typed in show summary down here, right? VS Code has already registered that, hey, right, you're going to probably type this again. So when I go up here, I type function, right? I type SHO, right? And right there, show summary is there. You can click on it with your mouse. I'm just going to hit enter. And now I'm going to give it a parameter. Remember, parameter means placeholder. So I'm just going to call it whatever the input form was. And then curly brackets, hit enter. And now let me control Z. Let me undo that. You notice the red squiggly underline, the red one up there. Oh no, the world is ending. That's because I'm not done declaring the function until I've made those curly brackets, right? And now, even though there's nothing in this function, right, in the curly brackets, there's no code to execute, right? The function still exists in the document, right? And so no squiggly lines, the world is not ending. Go back down here, same thing. The world is not ending. That's what we want. Okay. All right. So we've made that function. Okay. And now it says inside of the show summary function, write the following line, window.alert. And now we've done alerts before. Currently, we're going to have it say nothing. Okay. And so it says now when you click on the done button, a blank alert box should pop up. Once you verify this, you can move on to the next section. Okay, so let's just put a blank window.alert. Okay, and we go back, refresh the page, we click done, I get a blank alert box. Okay, good. Oh, let's go back to the handout. Okay, checkpoint 3, implement the following function. This is going to be a helper function. We did, again, something very similar to this in function and form. We did get fave snack message, right? And we also had get sleep comment, right? Folks, why am I bringing up this stuff from other files we've looked at and worked on, right? Because you can refer back to those, right? You should be looking back at those and going, oh, what did I do there? How is that going to be similar to what I'm doing here? Okay. But let's take a look at what the comment says. Returns a comment or a string that is one of the following. Your favorite number is positive, negative, 0. And this is going to be my function. It's going to have a parameter of num. Okay, so let's do that first. All right, and let's go ahead and follow what the comments say to do. Okay, so after the curly bracket that closes show summary, I'll hit enter twice. I'll start off with a comment, and what did the document say? Returns a comment or a string, and I'll say returns a string based on the number. We'll just say the number. Okay, so let's go ahead and declare this function. So this function is again called what? It is called getFaveNumberComment. So getFaveNum comment, parentheses, my parameter is num, curly bracket, hit enter. Okay, remember num has no value, right? Right now, there is no value to num. It is a placeholder. When I use this helper function in show summary, right, then I will be sending in numbers to take the place of num. Okay, for now though, we're going to say if num. Okay, now let's look back. What were my three options? Favorite number is positive. Well, a little math here. What does it mean for a number to be positive? It's got to be greater than 0. So if num is greater than 0, curly bracket, we will return, quote, your favorite number is positive. Okay, and now after the curly bracket for that if, we'll say else. Let's check and see. What does it mean for a number to be negative? It means it's less than 0. And now let's help ourselves out. I've already typed in something very close to what I need. So I'm going to copy and then I'm going to paste, and I'm just going to double click the word positive and replace it with the word negative. Okay. And now what's the last option? Well, every number is either greater than 0, less than 0, or it must be 0. Now, those of you who've taken Algebra 2 will remember imaginary numbers. We are not dealing with those here, right? Just real numbers, okay? So we can just say else, return your favorite number is 0. Now, actually, let's just write the word 0. Okay, so one of these three is going to get returned. Okay, So let's go back. All right. And it says in your show summary function, use the getFaveNumber comment function to alert a message about the number that the user entered into the ID text fave number text box. Okay, so here's what we have to do now. Okay, in our show summary, right, we now have to figure out, okay, what number did they type in to this text box with the ID of ID text fave number. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so before I do the window.alert, so I'm going to put my cursor up here at the start of that open bracket. I'm going to hit enter. Let's make a variable, call it fave number equal, and now we go to the DOM, so document dot get element by ID, parentheses quote, and what was my ID again? Let's go down here, ID text fave number. I'm going to do a little copy paste, help myself out, and that is going to be dot value. Okay, right? Because for a text box, again, whatever we put into that text box is the value. Now, some of you might remember though, when we did our calculator exercise, that we have different types of data, right? Anything that goes into a text box is actually a string, right? So even if I type in the number 7, one of my favorite numbers, right, the computer, or really the web browser, will actually read it as quote 7, right? But we want to treat this like a number because we're going to do some numerical true or falses, right? Is num greater than 0? Is num less than 0, right? These are mathematical inequalities. So remember, we want to use the number function that will turn the string into a number. So I'm going to go before the word document, capital N number, parentheses, and then after value, but before the semicolon, I will go close parentheses. Okay, and what I want to do now is I'm going to take this variable favorite number, I'm going to send it into the function we just made, getFaveNumComment, right? So I'm going to call this function, right? And I'm going to then send in the favorite number to take the place of our parameter. Okay. Okay. So how are we going to do all that? Well, again, I don't want to do this alert yet. Okay, so I'm going to put my mouse here at the start of this window.alert. I'm going to hit a couple of enters. I'm going to go back up here. And actually, let's go right here. Let's do another enter. Okay. And actually, let's do another enter. Sorry, I'm creating a lot of blank lines here. Okay. I want to make an output variable. So again, if you look back at function and form, this was the variable display text. Okay. For us, I'm just going to make a variable called output. Okay. And I'm going to start off by making output equal to, right, one of these comments I get from calling getFaveNumContent. Okay, or comment, excuse me. So let output equal, I'm going to call the function getFaveNumComment, parentheses, well, I have to send in something to take the place of num. What is that something going to be? It is going to be my variable fave number. So F-A-V, and it pops up, so I hit enter. Okay, and so in the window.alert now, I'm going to output whatever the value of this output variable is. So I'm just going to write the variable output and save it. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. All right, so let's refresh. My favorite number is 7, and when I click done, it says in the, I know it's small, sorry, but it does say your favorite number is positive. If I type in -12, right, it does say your favorite number is negative, and if I type in 0, right, it does say your favorite number is 0. Okay, all right, so that is one part of show summary, right? So we're going to get the number that the user types into the text box. We're going to turn it into a number by using the number function. We save it to the variable faveNumber. We then call the function getFaveNumComment. We send in the variable faveNumber. Whatever this function returns, it's returning one of these three strings, right? It gets saved to the variable output. And then I'm going to alert output in that tiny little text box. Okay, and that is checkpoint 3. And if you've gotten this far all by your lonesome, you are doing great. Okay, let's go ahead and finish up strong with the final task, which is very similar. Implement another helper function to generate a comment about the user's favorite animal. Then combine this with the original message from checkpoint 3 to alert a single message describing both the user's favorite number and the user's favorite animal. For example, if the user entered 17 for the number and cats for the animal, then the alert message might be your favorite number is positive and your favorite animal meows. Okay, so we're doing another helper function. So let's go ahead and do that. So getFaveNumComment is there. I'm going to put my cursor at the end of the closing bracket. So after that, I'm going to hit a couple of enters. Let's start off with a comment. What did we say, right? Returns a string based on the number. We'll say returns a string based on the animal. Okay. And so let's go ahead and make a function, right? We will call it getFaveAnimal, and I'll call my parameter animal. Again, it has no meaning at this point, but we're going to make it based off of the values in my select box, right? So that's either going to be C, D, or R. Okay, and so let's go here and say if animal, remember double equals when we're trying to check if two things are equal to each other, quote C, close parentheses, curly bracket, right? We can now go ahead and say if animal double equals quote C, we will return quote your favorite animal meows. Okay. Else if animal double, oops, put some spaces there, quote D. Let's return, and let's help ourselves out here. There we go. We'll say, what should we say? Barks? Woofs? Let's say barks. Okay. And then we only have 3 options, right? If they don't pick the cat and they don't pick the dog, well, what's left? There's only one option. They pick the rabbit. Okay. So we can just say else, return, quote, your favorite, I misspelled favorite, that's embarrassing, animal, what should we say, eats carrots. Okay, so these are our only options, all right? So now let's go ahead and use this function in show summary, okay? But before we do that, we have to make it based off of what the user picked in the select box, right? So first I have to grab the value from this select box, okay? So I'm going to copy ID select faveAnimal, okay? And so it's I'll make a variable called faveAnimal equal, and so again we do it based on the DOM, document.getElement by ID, parentheses, quote, I'm just going to paste that in, dot value. Okay, we don't have to convert this to a number, all right? And now, if we real quick go back to the handout, okay, remember that we are trying to put all of this in one line here, right? In one string. The alert message should be one long thing that talks about their number selection and their animal selection, okay? So I want to add on to this variable output. Okay, so how do we add on? Again, we talked about it in function and form. we can use the shorthand of plus equals, right? And now I'm going to add on to this the string that gets returned from get fav animal. And what am I sending into that? I'm sending the variable fav animal. Okay, so remember, when I'm calling these helper functions, right, like get fav animal, the variable fav animal goes in. That's called an argument. Okay, the argument will take the place of the parameter. All right, so if fav animal, let's say they pick cat, right, then it'll just be quote C, right? That quote C will take the place of this parameter called animal. Okay, it's also nice when I put my mouse over the word animal here. God, I love VS Code, right? It's telling you, hey, that's a parameter. Okay, right? And then it says any here because it could be any type of data, numbers, strings, and there's a couple other types as well. Okay, all right, so I'm telling you now, and I'm going to pause it here for a second before we run it. Okay, in my function show summary, I have something wrong, but it's not logically wrong. My logic here is good. I'm not going to have any typos. Watch, it doesn't work now. That would be funny. But something I'm 99% confident we are good. The issue is we have not followed all of the instructions. So let's see what this looks like and you'll see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to refresh. My favorite number is 7. I like dogs. I hit done, and now it might be hard for you guys to see, right? But if you look at your alert box, there is no spacing between the two sentences, okay? Because we have to remember that the space is a character in a string, right? Anything from your keyboard, right? Numbers, letters, punctuation, the space bar, those are all separate strings, right? And so what I'm doing here in show summary is I'm getting a string from get fav num comment, and then immediately after it I'm getting a string from get fav animal, right? That's why they're like glued together in that alert box, right? Which looks ugly. So let's go ahead and fix that. So before I add in the string from get fav animal, I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to go output plus equals, and I'm just going to go quote space. And after the quote, I'll do a semicolon. Okay, and so this will give us a little bit of a gap between the string from get fav num comment and get fav animal. So that's saved. Let's go back. Let's refresh. Okay, and so let's say my favorite number is 6 and I like rabbits. And now again, I know it's hard to read, but the alert box here does say your favorite number is positive. Your favorite animal eats carrots. Okay, and there is a space there, which is what we want. Okay. Okay, and that is it for this exercise. Now, if you were following along with me and you found this, hey, this made sense, right? This was easy. Good, that's a great place to be at. Okay, what I would then ask is in the next couple of days, let's enhance, right? Let's add more options. Let's add more strings, more user input, right? Besides just the favorite number or the favorite number and the favorite animal. Okay. All right, but we're going to call it right there. Okay, so I'm going to leave up show summary here. If you want to take a look at this before the video wraps, feel free to pause. Here's get fav num comment. Here's get fav animal. Again, this is based on my specific typing, right? So if you have errors, you have to check your code, look for typos, capitalizations, right? Missing symbols like greater thans, less thans, things like that, quotation marks. Okay. All right, but that's all we got. Okay, I will see you next time.